What is up, my internet friends and family? I'm Charmix, and today I'm going to be reacting to 5 strangest paranormal experiments ever conducted by Top 5 Unknowns. Now, Top 5 Unknowns make great videos, so make sure you go subscribe to Top 5 Unknowns. And yeah, with that being said, hope you like this video. The original link's in the description. And with that being said, let's begin.
Before the video starts, I'd just like to remind you to press the bell button next to the subscribe button in order to get all future notifications for uploads. Thank you, and now for the video. Number 5. Resurrecting the dead. In the 1940s, Soviet scientists began working on experiments on how to resurrect the clinically dead. These were known as the experiments in the revival of organisms. They were carried out by Soviet scientists Sergei Brukhenko and Boris Levenskovsky. The scientists showed through medical experiments and procedures, organs can be isolated to live in and out of a body. They demonstrated how a dog's heart and lungs can be isolated and continue to function while out of the dog's body. The heart had electricity applied to it, while the lungs had been operated by bellows oxygenating blood. The scientists also created a machine known as the autojector. This was a primitive form of a heart-lung machine. The machine was composed of a pair of diaphragm linear pumps and an oxygen bubble chamber.
That's pretty crazy. And this is Russia? I'm surprised they weren't plastered when they were doing this.
Used the machine to resurrect a decapitated dog's head by supplying it with oxygenated blood. They then cut off the blood supply to the dog's head, leaving it clinically dead for 10 minutes. They then bring it back to life.
The isolated head even reacts to light and to sound.
Is it actually like alive? Because I thought if a brain goes like, you know, for like 10 minutes or whatever without oxygen, it like dies, or, you know, there's like a lot of brain damage that occurs. So is this dog actually functioning as a dog, or is it just getting, you know, like blood pumped in it and then having like electricity put in it, and it's just, you know, it's not really like the brain working? Because I think a huge breakthrough would be having the brain working after the dog's been killed. So if the dog was killed and then they somehow managed to get the brain working, and then this is actually like the dog's response from its brain, that is some messed up shit. Also, if this is first on the list, is this gonna be like the weirdest thing possible on here, or is it gonna get worse? Because I don't see how it could get stranger than this. That is creepy.
Much
Is that
controversy
real?
came to the scientists after releasing the film of their experiment. Some have argued that it may be fake. Later on that year, Sergei developed a second auto-ejector, this time to be used on humans. He was granted with the prestigious Lenin Prize for his work. Number 4. Nazi Lebensborn program.
Yeah, was that real or not?
Although these experiments themselves were not of a paranormal nature, the reasoning behind them were. The Nazi Lebensborn experiments involved teenage sex camps for breeding in order to create a racially pure form of Aryans. On July 1st, 1935, Hitler's right-hand man Heinrich Himmler founded the Anherbe. This stands for Inheritance from the Ancestors. This department's original investigation was to find new evidence of the racial heritage of the German people. However, due to Himmler's obsession with the occult, it soon took a dark turn. Himmler, including the rest of the Nazi party, believed the Aryan race were a superior race created by the gods. Many expeditions were carried out to find the root of the Aryan race. Nazi search parties were sent to several countries around the globe and tested the anatomy of its residents to see if any of them resembled Aryan. As the Nazis believed the Aryan race came from the gods, they opened breeding camps where young German women would have sex with Aryan men. These babies were then collected and given to members of the Nazi party. Lebensborn
Well, this is some messed up shit. This is very messed up.
literally means fount of life. The goal was to raise the birth rate of the Aryan race in Germany. The babies born from a Lebensborn were considered to be racially pure and healthy. The program ran for 10 years from 1935 to 1945. As part of the program in 1939, Nazis started to kidnap children from many countries, mainly Yugoslavia and Poland. These children were then put under what was termed as Germanization. These were boarding schools which would teach the children how to become proud to be German. The children were given new German identities and were told to forget their parents. Ones who rebelled against the Germanization were beaten and then sent to the concentration camps. The children would be abducted in plain view of their parents. Once a large amount were rounded up, they were split into several different groups. Those considered desirable to be included in the German population, those who were acceptable, and the unwanted. The unwanted were sent to the concentration camps, while the others aged 2 to 6 were given to the Nazi families of the program.
Is this actual footage from it? Or is it like footage from like a movie or something?
Those aged 6 to 12 were placed in the boarding schools for Germanization. Around 20,000 to 200,000 children were estimated to be kidnapped under the program.
200,000?
The Stargate Project. In 1978, the US Army established the Stargate Project. The project's purpose was to study psychic abilities to find out if they were real so they could use them within the military and domestic departments. The project primarily involved remote viewing. This is the ability to see events, sights, or information from a distance. The
I've heard of
project
remote
created
viewing
a set
before.
of protocols designed to make the research of clairvoyance and out-of-body experiences more scientific. From 1972 to 1995, more than $20 million was used to fund the project. The project was overseen by Albert Stubblpine, a retired US Army Major General. It was also overseen by Robert Monroe. As we mentioned him in a previous video, we won't go into detail about him. New viewers can click on the annotation at the end to find out who he is. The project involved about 20 individuals. In the 1990s, under part of a project known as Phase 1, out-of-body experience beacon RV experiments were carried out. There are rumors that a volunteer by the name of Ingo Swann, who underwent the beacon experiment, briefed back describing communication with interdimensional beings and extraterrestrials. Robert Monroe was under contract with the CIA and NSA up until he died in 1995. His patented hemisync technology was used in the department to train agents in the ability to remote view by going out of body. Robert Monroe oversaw a remote viewing experiment involving a man called Joe McMoneagle. He was referred to as Remote Viewer 001. Taking place on May 22, 1984, Joe claimed to have remote viewed some type of life on Mars. He claimed to see underground shelters, pyramids, megalithic structures, and people who were very tall and thin. He claimed it's only a shadow, it's if they were there, but not there anymore. He reported them as thin and tall, but very large, wearing strange clothing. The Stargate Project...
This is some weird shit. This is very weird. And we got 10 more minutes of this weirdness. Buckle up.
Also tested for telepathy. They claimed telepathy brought back barely any results and called it the giggle factor of the project. You can do an experiment at home to test telepathy. This is known as the Gansfeld experiment. The experiment involves several people, a receiver, a sender, and the experimenter who records the results. You also need ping pong balls and a red light. The receiver must place each half of a cut ping pong ball over their eyes while in view of a red light. Staying there for 30 minutes will make the receiver go into a mild sensory deprivation. While in a separate room, the sender will think of an object, trying to send it mentally to the receiver. The receiver will then say out loud whatever comes to their mind while the experimenter writes it down and checks the results. Project Stargate was terminated and declassified in 1995. The movie The Men Who Stare at Goats was based on the project. Number 2.
Men Who Stare at Goats? That's a movie? That was a weird one. That was a weird one. At the beginning, how I said, I don't think it can get weirder than this. It did.
Aleister Crowley Abramelin Rituals. Aleister Crowley was an English occultist, ceremonial magician, poet, novelist, and painter. Aleister began to practice magic as he saw it as a technique to make contact with spiritual entities for the purpose of expanding human consciousness onto a cosmic plane. In 1889, Crowley decided he wanted to attempt an ancient summoning ritual from the Book of Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage. This ceremony takes about 6 months to a year for completion. Abramelin magic was introduced to Western literature in the 15th century. This ceremony is used to evoke good and angelic forces in order to overcome dark forces. Crowley claimed one must have a house where proper precautions against disturbances can be taken. This being arranged, there is really nothing to do but to aspire with the increasing fervor and concentration for 6 months towards the obtaining of the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. He also called this guardian angel his higher self and inner genius. During the ritual, Crowley intended to evoke what he called the Lords of Darkness. During the 6 months once conjured, he would compel them to serve the forces of good, a process which would cause him to come in contact with the higher self who would guide Crowley into enlightenment. Crowley found an ideal location to perform the ritual. This was called the Boleskine House. It was located on the shores of the Loch Ness in Scotland. Crowley surrounded the...
I've heard of this guy before, but I was not aware of the shit that he was into. I just thought he was like, I don't know, I thought he like murdered people or something.
residents with river sand. He done this so he could see the progress of conjuring the four Lords of Darkness, as he claimed prints were visible after several sessions, making him believe he was successful. Just a few days after the ritual started, Crowley started to notice bizarre ongoings in his surroundings. One day while Crowley was returning from the garden, he came across a Catholic priest in his house. The priest told Crowley that the property's gatekeeper had tried to murder his wife and children. After this, Crowley hired a local man for labor within the house. Crowley claimed the man started to act insane and attempted to murder him. Crowley also claimed a local butcher cut off his own hand while talking to Crowley. Although Crowley took notice of the signs, he continued with the ritual, asking for his friends and family not.
Why would you continue doing this shit when, you know, all this weird stuff's going on around you? That's kind of like, a sign to say, stop it. Stop it.
Stop it.
Not to contact him. Crowley cut the ritual short and never finished it, as his friend had asked for his assistance in Paris. The next several owners of the house had bad luck. One was a British film star by the name of George Sanders. He tried to build a pig farm on the property, but the venture failed. His partner was sent to prison and the pig starved to death. Another owner was a former army major who committed suicide in Crowley's old bedroom. He was found with a dog chewing on parts of his skull. In December of 2015, the house caught fire and remains ruinous. Number 1. Nazi.
That was a weird one. That was a very weird one. Also, we're on number 1 right now, and there's like half of the video left. Why is number 1 so long?
UFOs. Under that and Herbie, expeditions were made to New Swabia, Antarctica. While there, it's speculated that the Nazis found more than what they were looking for, and it soon became a base for secret Nazi spacecraft technology. On August 26, 1946, the US military officially launched Operation High Jump. This was an expedition to New Swabia, Antarctica. This was led by Admiral Richard Byrd, along with close to 5,000 troops, 13 ships, and 33 aircrafts. According to the US Navy, Operation High Jump's objectives were to train personnel and test equipment in frigid conditions, to investigate possible future base locations, and to develop techniques in order to utilize, maintain, and establish air bases on ice. While there, Admiral Byrd was allegedly attacked by what was described as flying saucers. He later made a statement saying, the US should adopt measures of protection against the possibility of an invasion of the country by hostile planes coming from the polar region. He claimed he wasn't trying to scare the public, but in case of a new war, the US could be attacked by objects which could fly from pole to pole at incredible speeds.
Why is he playing World War II footage in the background? That has nothing to do with this. That's very weird. Oh crap, I skipped forward.
Said, I have to warn my compatriots that the time has ended when we were able to take refuge in our isolation and rely certainly that the distances, the ocean, and the poles were a guarantee of safety. As the attack remains shrouded in mystery, it's unclear as to what he and his unit were attacked by. Shortly after the alleged attack, the boat involved by the name of the USS Pine Island went missing from the military registry. It was found out later that it had been scrapped in the 1970s. The Nazi Party had made expeditions previous to the US. Their secret expedition began on December 17, 1938. A Nazi expedition party left Hamburg, setting sail for New Swabia, Antarctica. The reason for the expedition was to investigate the area for potential whale fat and to search for suitable base locations. Once they arrived, over a 3-week period, German pilots covered the land in metal badges with swastikas on them. They claimed the land and named it New Swabia. This was named after the boat they arrived on. While there, the Nazis supposedly came across underground caverns which held warm water pools. The Nazis allegedly founded a base called Base 211. While exploring the caverns, the Nazis either came across alien technology and reversed engineered it.
Alright, I'm confused with what's going on right now. So, I thought that the US Army was there. Is this like, so the German Army did the exact same thing?
Or worse, they came across an underground civilization of aliens. This isn't the only time underground alien bases have been spoke of. Phil Schneider, a former US government geologist and engineer, had over 17 years of experience working on classified government projects. He was involved with inventing shape-charged explosives to construct underground military bases. He carries a level 3 security clearance. Phil claimed, as of 1995, there are 131 underground military bases in the US and 1,477 bases worldwide. Each of them cost $17 to $19 billion to construct.
What? What? Why would it cost that much money to make? Just put some TNT in the ground and call it a day.
Also said a deep underground rail network connects all the underground bases in the US. In late August of 1979, Phil and a team of government scientists and geologists went to Dulce, New Mexico to construct a new underground base. There were a total of 66 scientists and Secret Service on the site supervising the construction. While there, they used equipment which drilled into the earth at a rate of 2 miles a day. They drilled 4 holes. Once dug, a large amount of black soot started to rise out of the holes. The equipment kept malfunctioning, so they decided to send humans down there to see what was causing the machine to act up.
Why would you send humans down there if black smoke is coming out? What? What kind of idiot would go down there? I mean, that can't be healthy for you.
Phil and several others went into the holes to find out what was causing the problem. He claimed as he went down, he saw a 7-foot alien grey, claiming its stench was unbearable. He managed to kill 2 of them by shooting them with a pistol. He claimed the alien waved its hand in front of its chest. He then saw a large blue beam heading towards him. This destroyed his fingers and severely burned his leg. With help from Secret Service, he managed to escape but claimed 66 people died, with only 3 surviving, him being 1. The others were placed in hospitals in Canada and are not allowed to be visited. Phil claimed of these 131 underground bases, at least 65 are used as underground cities and transport systems for the aliens.
Okay, so if what this guy's saying is correct, and actually, like, real, the government would have him killed. So I really don't believe what the guy's saying. He might just be saying all this stuff to get attention. Maybe he had a book and was trying to sell it or something.
Phil claimed world militaries have been involved in a secret underground war with aliens ranging from small greys to tall greys and reptilians. He claimed there are 11 different alien races which inhabit tunnels and caverns under Earth. He said these aliens have lived underground for at least 400 years. 2 weeks before releasing this information, Phil was shot in the shoulder in an attempt to take his life. In self-defense, he killed the shooter. He had an additional 11 attempts on his life, and his daughter was also kidnapped.
Wow. Maybe he is telling the truth. I mean, but then again, if the government wants you dead, you're dead, right? So they wouldn't just send some random guy to come kill you. They'd send some people who, you know, they know what they're doing.
A few months after releasing this information, Phil was found dead in his home in bizarre circumstances.
Oh, he did
A man
die.
by the name of Paul Bennewitz also claimed he was picking up electromagnetic activity coming from what he believed were underground alien bases in Dulce. It hasn't only been recent history which claimed an alien race lived underground. Native Americans also speak of an underground race of snake people. The Hopi Indians of Arizona claim they were saved by snake people who escorted them into underground caverns after their land came under attack by asteroids. They called this a deadly storm of falling stars. These snake people are believed to be the first inhabitants of the earth who were forced underground. Derinkuyu, an underground city located in Turkey, dates back to thousands of years ago. It was discovered in 1963. The underground city has a rather strange security system. It contains doors weighing thousands of pounds, which is held on rollers and can be operated by a single person. However, these doors can only be operated from one side. This means whoever was inhabiting the underground city was hiding from someone or something. Some have argued they could have been hiding from predators or other humans. Some suggest over 30,000 people inhabited the underground city. It's over 280 foot deep, containing religious centers, storerooms, and stables for livestock. There are underground cities located all over the world, and most of them probably still remain undiscovered. From the Anunnaki,
That's some crazy stuff right there. That's very crazy. So the guy might have been telling the truth because, you know, there were 11 attempts on his life. And then after he, you know, disclosed all this stuff, he was found dead not that long after.
The Nazis believe they managed to trace back the Aryan race to the Gobi Desert located in Central Asia. They claim they lived underground as a result of weathering. They also believe the Aryan race stored secrets about their formation in these underground cities, claiming the race was produced by Lord Himalaya. This race is believed to have formed 100,000 to 200,000 years ago. Some go as far as saying that the Aryan race battled these underground aliens for many years. After the Nazis' expedition, one of the explorers reported back to the press, claiming to have created a submarine base in Antarctica. After the war, many pictures were released of Nazi spaceship-type aircrafts which had been used and stored at these bases. The Nazis claimed under the Anunnaki, they used psychics and looked into past civilizations to find the blueprints of these crafts. These crafts were reported to work by electromagnetic propulsion methods. Many different crafts were created, such as the Kraut Meteor, the Avro Disc, the Schulberger models, and the Balonzo Discus.
Why don't people start, like, replicating these? I want to see if they work.
Many more were also created. By 1940, the Nazis were believed to have a fleet of different spacecrafts. However, only a few could take flight as they were still in the early development. During Hitler's downfall, it's believed he ordered for the destruction of these crafts. Some believe the technology was taken by the US and Russia and continues in use today. Thank you so much for watching.
That'd be cool if it's real. I don't know if it is, but I mean, that's pretty cool and creepy at the same time. Anyway, guys, I hope you like this video. This is very bizarre. And the last one, that's very creepy too, because I don't know, the guy was killed like a month or so after, you know, saying that like aliens live underground or whatever, which is weird because, you know, why don't they just fly away? I mean, supposedly they have the technology for that kind of, you know, equipment, right? So, I don't know. This is very weird. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Anyway, guys, hope you liked this video, and if you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, possibly share with a friend if you're new, and subscribe to join the family today, and I'll see you guys next time. Woo!